Good evening, everybody. Welcome one more time to the Dog
Woof, 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 woof.
Pound.
What was that?
Oh, man. I hope everybody's in a great mood this Sunday night and ready for a great show as myself and Randy are. How you doing, Randy?
Good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. If you want to check out Randy and his YouTube videos, you can go to Let's Go Fishing with Randy. He puts out some great fishing videos. In the wintertime, man, he's out there ice fishing. You know, sometimes I'm wondering if he's an Eskimo or not. He
I'm
lives
like
up
I'm
there
just
so far.
crazy like that. That's all, Daryl.
He's so far up there north, you never know. So, oh, baby, looks like we got a lot of people out here in the chat. Tonight's subject, we're going to be tying up different rigs for different fishing. And man, catfishing's got so many different rigs you can do. And we're going to be showing them and we're going to be tying them. And if anybody wants to drop in and show from the pro staff that shows the ones that you guys do, you guys jump in here. But before that, we're going to say hello out to chat and read out everybody that's out there. We got Fishing with Miss South. He said almost first. And then I came in there and said, well, I'm almost last all the time, usually, anyway. So, and there's my buddy, Mr. Joshua Perham.
Easy for you to
And
say.
yeah, Mr. Joshua, he's my buddy there. Get Hooked, Colorado J. How you doing, sir? Mr. Sappy's in the house. What you doing? And Mr. Danny Smith, he's coming to the gathering. He's been making plans for that. So good to see you in here. Skeeter Reynolds, good evening, fellas. Good evening to you too, sir. Avid, how you doing, Avid? Uh, man, you need to jump in here with us and help us tie up some rigs there and get going on that. Mr. Bobcat says hello, everyone, and Pontoon Jody. Appreciate you guys coming in here. We were all out late last night in a catfish tournament, and I'm sure a lot of fellas took them a while to get woke up this morning. There's my partner in crime, always out with me on the boat and in these tournaments, Mr. Woody Hullander there in the house saying hello all. And let's see who else we got in here. Man, we got several, and it looks like we got about 23 people in my side here. Anyway, maybe I won't. Hopefully, I won't miss anybody. We're going. There's Fishing with Squirrel. Hello, Squirrel. How you doing, sir? Good to see you in here. Uh, let's see who else we got here. Let's go with Randy. Rustic Outdoors. Hey, hey. How you doing, Rustic? Good to see you. And we got a whole bunch of folks in here. Probably most of them can show me more about tying rigs than I can tie myself. Usually I just tie myself up, but we're going to try it and see what we can do. I know you got a lot of different rigs going on yourself tonight, right, Randy?
I got a couple there. Some of them not for cats because before I got into cats, there's still a lot of bass fishing going on, and of course trout fishing in Colorado. So I got a
Yeah.
couple different rigs.
Yeah, that's what I knew you do a lot of trout fishing and bass fishing. So, this show's not just about catfishing anyway. I mean, when you do use the guard dogs, you don't have to use them just for catfishing. I'm just in the catfishing world. And
Right, right.
speaking of guard dogs, we appreciate guard dogs sponsorship and keeping the getting this thing going and keeping everybody up to date. And hey, if you want a guard dog automatic catcher, guys, you can always go to guarddogproducts.com. I don't know why I always want to say pro stuff. Guarddogproducts.com. Hey, you can put in Randy 10, get 10% off, or you can put in TSO 10, get 10% off. And hey, get you a guard dog. I'll tell you what, I really enjoy it. I know I say every week I like them just because of doing videos and doing lives and stuff. You don't always get to look at your rod and reels and you're busy doing stuff, and we put out a couple of videos where I have actually been having to do some things and had my back turned, and bam, them things goes off, and
Yep.
they'll wake you up. Our
Yeah,
last
they will.
video was a really good one where Woody and his son and wife went out on a camping trip and caught some really nice blue cats out there on the guard dog, and it shows how good those things really work. So Bob said he woke up at 5 p.m. after a 5 hour nap after church. So, but anyway, we appreciate Mr. Monty for getting behind us, putting this thing on, everything like that. You fish any this week, Randy?
You know, this weekend didn't look too good forecast wise, so I took Wednesday off and had a pretty good day. That was the best day of the week. How about you?
Gotcha. Yeah, I went out and we pre-fished for the tournament and caught some bait on Wednesday, Thursday, and we sort of got a game plan on for doing that. Myself and Brandon and Bobcat, even though we're fishing against each other, we went out and sort of did some pre-fishing and figured out some things. But I think Brandon and Bobcat might have figured out a little more than me since they won the tournament and I came in seventh place.
Yikes. So last time you take them to go catch fish.
I tell you, well, actually, I was in their boat with them, so
Wow.
you know, the, we talked about what we had planned on doing. But oh, Bob, Bob's not one. He don't have a lot of patience with some things, and we had done some. We were doing free lining and catching some channel cats like that. No, Bob, he just can't stand that. At one time, he just set the rod down and went up there and crossed his arms. So Brandon said, "This ain't gonna work for us." So they parked up there on the dam right there where the water was boiling up, and they sit there and put the whoop on me. So uh, that's all right. And I think Bob's impatient caused them to win a tournament or something like that. So
Right on.
anyway, enough about that. But we're going to get into doing some tying some different rigs, and I know you've got some you want to do. What I'll do is I'll show one, and then let you show one, and
Sure. We'd
talk
love to see
about
what's in the
what we
chats too, right? If you
yeah
guys
and
let's start filling the chat with what your favorite rigs are for different fish.
yeah. You
What we'll
guys
do in ours.
let us know, and if it's one that we're not doing here, and if I know how to do it, I'll do it. But yeah, let's start talking about. So let us know what your favorite rig is for catfishing, or skipjack, or bass, or trout, all that good stuff. But I'm going to start off with the rig that I fish with most of the time, which is just a circle hook, a 10-ounce circle hook. Mine is they're hangry hooks from Catfish Sumo.
Hangry.
TSO 10 will get you 10% off. Randy 10 will get you 10% off also. We're
Flip a
both
coin.
sponsored
See who
by
gives you 10
by
off.
Catfish Sumo. But I start off with that, and then I crimp. I just started crimping, and I hope you guys can see that good. I just started crimping my stuff a few months ago, and a lot of people say you don't crimp the hooks, but I have. I what I did was I started off crimping half of my rigs and tying half of them, and I can't tell a difference either way. So
Hmm.
I just crimp them, and then I crimp on my Demon Dragon, as you can see, and then I come on up, and I left this one undone where I can show you. I even crimp on my Baron swivel. Wrong one. Let me grab it here. I thought I had one out, but I probably did just set it somewhere else. But I use a Catfish Sumo barrel swivel, and all we do is we just slip on a little crimp on first. You better put your crimp on first every time. That's the wrong size. That one's too big. Uh, Make sure different weights lines have different crimps. And this is a 150 line, 50-pound leader right here. So I put the crimp on, and then I just put my uh, swivel on and come through there like that, and then put it right back through.
I can't
Right
tell. Is that
back
a
through.
steel leader or is that mono?
It's mono, 50
Okay.
pound, 150-pound mono is what it is.
Jeez.
Yeah, we got a lot of rocks, and though we got 100-pound catfish in the Tennessee River. So my buddy Woody caught one, and I'll just pull that thing up. I don't know if you can see it where my swivel will just hang loosely, and get my crimpers. You get these on Amazon anywhere. They're just crimpers to crimp for catfish or fishing lures, or I know they even use them for deep sea fishing. Now, this particular crimp just requires one crimp. Larger ones can crimp twice, but this one's just a one crimp. Get that crimped on like that, and then this crimper actually has a cutter, and I will
Hmm.
cut that cutter in there as tight as I can right against there, and I'll cut that off. Actually, I didn't cut it quite as close as I wanted to. Trying to do it for the camera. Let me cut it just a little bit closer. There we go. And the reason I cut that close is I used to leave a little bit more tab out there in case of slippage, but I figure if they're going to slip, they're going to come out anyway.
Hmm.
But what I found is if you leave a tab hanging out like that, a lot of times this thing may float up and get hung in it, and now you got a rig all hung up in your tab there, and you're
Right.
not catching any fish. So
Hmm.
when I'm crimping, I crimp my tabs off as tight as I possibly can. And this is basically what they call the Santee Cooper rig. And as you say, I don't run any beads on here because the Demon Dragons are so loud. I
Hmm.
don't have to. Now, if I run one that has the float, that just uses a float, I will generally put a rattle like this above it right here, and possibly a couple. And I like to use these sinkers, or these floats here have a split where you can take. And I know that's not showing up on the camera. If you already have a line, let's just say a line like this one that's pre-done, and you are fishing like this, and you're like, well, I want to put a float on there to float up. This one actually has a split on there, and there we go. A little stopper piece go in there. You just put it on the line and push this in there, and it'll stop it. And these beads will actually come open also. A lot of people don't know that, but these beads will actually pop open, and you can pop them on the line. So you might start out with a leader line like this that doesn't have anything on it, and wind up you can have it with the float and the beads and everything else all at one shot. So uh, that's one way to go also.
You were saying that you like the time before you go fishing. You have a binder you put them in or
Yep,
something.
I do. I tie mine ahead of time, and then I put them in here like this. And this is a one that goes to my tackle box actually. But you can buy these like this right here also, and they'll have binders in there. These are for my free lining. I have several of them wrapped up. This is for free lining. I'll talk about it later. And then in the front, I have rigs for my. Let's see if I can get that shine off there. There we go. For skipjack,
Hmm.
I'll tie up rigs for skipjack. And if we get time, I'll show that too. But you can buy these right here. This is called a road deal. You can get that on Amazon, or I've got a tackle box, and I'll show it that has it built in,
Oh, nice.
and that way you got everything together. This is Realty Fishing. You go on Walmart, they have these on clearance for $15. The whole
Damn.
tackle box. The tackle box comes with the boxes inside of it.
Dang,
Uh,
that's a deal
I've
for
got a
15
couple of them
bucks.
out. Side pockets here. You got the back pockets, and you
Hmm.
got the pocket up top to put your pre-tied rigs in there. So, guys, if you want something like this, you can't buy hardly anything for $15. And they
Oh,
have these on
no.
clearance on Walmart out for $15. You go in there and put that real tree in there. Uh, so that's another thing. But I really like that.
That's
So,
pretty nice.
but that's one. That's my favorite rig. That's one of the rigs I use. I don't know if you're looking at the chat or not. I seen somebody say a three-way rig.
Right? Joshua was saying three-way rig. I don't use
Uh,
that too much. How's that work out? Have you done a three-way rig before?
I don't use one in the Tennessee, but I have seen them. I do. I know how to tie one. I mean, I've got stuff to do
Sure.
it. No, and we can tie one if I get time. If you want to show one of your rigs, and then I'll get the stuff out and do a three-way rig here.
Sure. Well, one of my main ones, if I'm fishing, um, I'll use it for catfish. I'll use it for wipers. I'll use it for walleye. it's my main go-to bait rig. So we'll just, for sakes of entertainment here. So what I usually do is, depending on what I'm fishing for, I'm gonna start off with. I like to fish with fluorocarbon, usually like 15-pound fluorocarbon. But what I usually do is I start with a slider weight. This one is the 3-ounce from Catfish Sumo, and these are really nice, guys, because as you can see, it has a plastic liner inside, keeps it from hanging up. So I'm gonna, for the purpose of this, I'm gonna use. I also like to use the 1-ounce. It's the same one from Catfish Sumo. I don't fish real heavy streams, river streams, and I usually just lakes and stuff where it's pretty still for the most part. So 1 ounce is plenty big for me. Anyways, so I can do this without my reading glasses because none of you want to see me wearing those. Anyways, so start with the weight. I usually fish with the Catfish Sumo beads next. I'm using a green screen, so you can't really see it too well.
It's a clear green bead there, guys.
Yeah, it's very green. It's very clear. I mean, just for the sake of now, so you can see the dang bead, I'm just going to use a regular big old bead that you get from Walmart or whatnot. So after the weight, I usually go with a bead. And then once again, let's see if I can do that without reading glasses. And I usually tie when I get to the bank because, I don't know, I just don't like things rattling around or whatnot. So now you got the end. The end's usually going to go to a swivel. And Daryl and I both like using the Catfish Sumo swivels. These are hardcore, man. You're never going to break these off, even if you went ocean fishing. These are nice and smooth, never binds up. So what I'll do is, if I'm using fluorocarbon, I usually do like an arm stretch. That's my accurate measurement device, arm stretch. But I'll do that, and I'll actually tie the hook off on its own leader. So I got the end that already has the weight and the bead on it, and then I go. Now, when I'm tying on the swivel, I'm just using a basic Palomar knot. So let's do one of those real quick. Luckily, we got an hour.
Yeah, I'm over here trying to do this 3-way one.
All right, right. Okay, there.
Hey, that's not him squinting. His eyes are normally that way, guys.
Yeah, it's tough to tell, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to tie this off camera here so I can tie it quicker because an hour would be quicker than we think. All right, there we go. So basic Palomar knot, you just go through, you do a loop, you tie the knot, you slip the swivel through, get it out the bottom. You can moisten this if you want to, snug it up, and that's it right there on the swivel. Cut off the tag. All right, so there it is at the end now. Now, the reason I do it like this, guys, is because this way I can change if a hook gets gut hooked or breaks off or whatever. Usually the leader is going to be a little bit lighter than the main line, so that if it does tangle up and break off, you're still going to come back with your weight and your bead and your swivel, if that makes sense. All right, so at the other end, what do I do with my leader line? That went traveling somewhere. Oh, leader line. Okay, I found it. All right, so for tying on knots, guys, this is what I like to use. This is a Catfish heavyweight octopus. Like I see, you'll be hard pressed to try to break one of these. And I like to do what most of you guys probably use. This is the knotless knot, right? So I like to stick it in at this end, run a little tag down, just like that, guys. I'm going to hold it, I'm going to moisten it, and I'm going to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, lucky 13 wraps. You're going to get your other line, go back the opposite hole that you went in from the first time. Once again, without my reading glasses, so bear with me. And you're just going to cinch it up. Then you're going to cut off the tag. We use this a lot in catfish. Carp tying, because we do what is called the hair rig. So this is a 13 wrap knotless knot, right? I've never broken a knotless knot on anything other than an extreme snag. So once I get this, then I just tie it on to the end, other end of the swivel, right? And to tie it on this end, I'll do the Palomar again. So you put it through, you stick it back in. All right, and I like to leave, I don't know, 8 inches, something like that. Tie the knot, come across, poke it all through again. Try not to poke yourself with the super sharp Catfish Sumo hooks. And there we go. Then you just cinch it up. Right. Cut off your tag. Don't swallow the tag. And there you go. So this is my main go-to when I'm using for live bait. Like I said, I'll use this for trout with a small egg sinker, 1/2 ounce if I'm going for trout. I'll make the leader longer. I'll use a, of course, a smaller hook. You're not going to go for trout like this. Well, maybe Steve will, because he's hardcore. Welcome to the show, Steve. But
Hey,
yeah,
how are you?
good, brother. So like I said, this is about, I think, a 6-0 heavyweight Catfish Sumo Octopus hook. So that's going to be my go-to rig for just about anything. And once again, if I break off, I can just retie from the swivel. If I want to go for trout and they're way out there, I can go with a smaller amount of fluorocarbon. Maybe I'll do like, I don't know, 10-pound instead of 15-pound fluoro. Tie on a small hook, and then I'm ready to go for trout. So that's one of my favorite setups. I think they call it Texas, don't they? Something like that. It used to be for other things, but that's one of my, like I said, my main. I'll go for probably 99% of my species. If I'm not using a lure or not using plastics, this will be my main rig. So
Absolutely.
that's what I got.
Hey, well, shout out to everybody. And hey, Steve, appreciate you dropping in here with us, Mr. the Hooker himself. And he gone. He dropped out just as I
He said,
spoke to. See, I
yeah,
scare
he
people
saw
off
the
left.
quality of the show. He got a sample. That's all he needed.
There you go. I would say shout out to Crappy Day Fish On. I seen Miss Amy in here, Miss Burritos, and Randy about to get married in here in a couple of weeks. Sea Faust Outdoors, retired Rick. Hey, there's Catfish Burrito. Our Burrito Catfishing Lady. I'll get that right in a minute. Hey, I never said I was sharpest knife in the drawer. I just glad I was in the drawer. There's old Cool Cats. Hello, Mr. James. Him and Jody and all was in that tournament with us last night. Let's see if I'm missing Clearview Outdoors. Hey, how you doing? Steve Douglas is in the house. Hello, Mr. Steve. Hope you're doing grand. Let's see. There's Randy. I've already said hello to Woody. Anyway, hello everybody out there. Steve, you got a rig for us you want to show tonight to show how you tie and what you use it for and all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. Sorry I'm late. I just got home from fishing.
Hey, we can't put up with these excuses. You be on time or you get 6 demerits. You know that, right?
Let's see if he really was fishing all day. Let's see. Watch this. See, I say he looked right.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking around, looking for their poles right now.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll do it in stereo, mess with everybody. All right, I'll stop that now.
Gets me all excited.
Right?
So this is one of my favorite little rigs. I already tied it together just so I'd have it ready to go. But I like to take a three-way.
There it is.
And then, I don't know if you guys already went over that.
No, it came up. Josh came up with it, and then Daryl was going to tie one because we don't really use it, so it's great you jumped on, yeah.
Well, there's a couple different ways. I mean, some guys like to run their weight off the bottom and then just still have the one. I think they call that a Texas rig.
Right.
I prefer to run a freaking the egg sinker, then have 2 hooks. And this is my secret on how, when I get to a spot, I'll take one and I'll put either, like, if I'm going after trout, maybe power bait and a worm on one. And then it kind of helps me pinpoint what colors I'm trying to get to or what the fish are starting to have. And then, what the fish are wanting. And then I can kind of pinpoint and, you know, fine tune it to what they want and then make it better. But this is a quick, simple little trick
Nice.
that, man, because you can use multiple, like, you know, here in Utah, we can have 2 poles. So that gives you 4 baits that you can try. And I've been to lakes where, dude, they just want power bait.
Right.
But what color, what flavor? Well, now I got 4 different options. And as soon as I can figure out what color you want, I'll feed it to you all day long.
Nice. You know, and that's
the
cool
most
because
problem.
first, every time I hear the 3-way rig, I always think about, you know, you got your main line on one of the 3 ways, you got your leader and hook on the other, and then I think a lot of people will do like a weight off the third swivel. That's what I always
Mm-hmm.
think of. So I didn't even think about using 2 ends and just using an egg sinker. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to try that next time out.
Yeah.
Well, what I like about it, like I said, it just gives you a whole bunch of different options, and it's not just for. I don't use it just for trout. I mean, if you guys watched the JBT tournament on Saturday, I was using that exact setup and caught a nice wiper.
Nice.
But it's universal. You can take it anywhere, but it just makes it so you have 2 extra hooks to try to pinpoint to get, you know, whatever species you're chasing to find out what they want to eat.
How long is your leader from the swivel to the hook? What do you usually? How long is that?
I usually just switch it up. This is just on my ice fishing one, so we could see it a little better.
Right.
But I usually run one about 18 inches to 2 foot on the one, and the other side about 12 inches.
Okay.
Because the reason why is I've noticed if you have them that are offset a little bit, they don't tangle nearly as bad. If they're the exact same length, they seem to want to tangle a lot. If you have the same weight. Now, if you have a night crawler on one and say power bait on the other,
Right.
it won't tangle as easy. But if you do it like this, it'll help get rid of that tangle all the way around. And that's
Nice.
just from years of practicing.
And that works pretty good for the bank as well, not just ice fishing.
Oh, that works for the bank. That's what I caught yesterday. That wiper on was from the bank. I was on my boat today, and that's how we found out they wanted worms. Excuse me. But yeah, it works ice fishing. And if you do it this way, you can actually put 2 different jigs. Once again, I'll run up, but I'll go shorter. I'll go one really, really close to the swivel, and then one down deeper for ice fishing, and it seems to work pretty good.
Nice.
I don't know how this would work, say, in the big Russian River. I think your Texas rig would probably be a better design for that. But if you're in a pretty calm lake or a river that's not like Russian, you can't really beat this, I don't think.
No, that's great. I'm definitely going to try that in my next one, dude. I'll call it the Steve rig.
Yeah, and I'll add to what he just did with his 3-way rig. Now I just quickly tied one, and it's not exactly what everybody would use, but this is a 3-way swivel also, and this is your main line, and this is a way smaller sinker than what we'd use, but I just had one
Yeah,
here.
that's what I think of. That's the traditional 3-way tie. I
Yeah.
think.
And then so when you're bumping, you would have this coming off your main line where it's all in together. That way it says you get the more sensitivity on the bottom for when that is. You want it straight in line with your line. I don't have it tied that way here, but if you're bumping, you tie it right the opposite way I am, because you want this main line going to the main swivel that goes down to your main sinker. And that way, if you're bumping, you feel it. You won't feel the bottom when you're bumping. And then you'd have one off of here. And you also, when you're bumping, usually this line will be like just a 25-pound line. That way, if it gets hung up, you don't lose your whole rig. You just lose that lead. And usually everybody if they're bumping, keeps a piece of lead with a string tied on it, and they'll just loop it on there and go like that. But then you have your swivel coming off that way. So, or if you're not, if you're just fishing with a 3-way that's laying on the bottom, it's not a huge deal which one's which. But you also, when you do it this way, you can also put a float on here to float this bait up and off of that also. So this is the way I've seen most of them done. I don't generally fish this way a whole lot, but unless I'm doing some bumping or anything like that.
That looks like
It
it'd
is
be
a
pretty good
real,
for trolling too.
yeah, it is a real good rig to use like that. But like I say, it would be right the opposite of the way I have it here on these swivels. If you're bumping, you would put actually the lead on the main line coming down from your swivel there. So
Nice. I like
it's a
that.
little different.
And
So
that does work really good for trolling. We did some of that today. It's kind of like a poor man's bottom bouncer if you don't want to spend all that money for the ones that got the metal rod in them.
Right.
yeah,
It's kind of the same thing, or like a poor man downrigger, I guess, is more accurate.
Sure.
I'll say hello to Carpenter Catfish. He caught a 86-pound catfish this week. So
86
congratulations, we cat
pounds.
Wow.
Sea River.
Dang.
Dang.
Congratulations on that. He actually was at our gathering last year and won the big fish from the bank and $750. And he didn't have a whole lot of equipment. And
Hmm.
myself and uh, Brandon also donated him a rod, and I gave him an Uncle Lou rod, and he got his PB twice this week, and both of them was on that Uncle Lou. I was like, oh, I'm glad you
Jeez.
got that Uncle Lou. Yeah, so
That's a lucky rod there.
he said that's his favorite
Yeah,
rod now,
really.
Uncle Lou. So
Don't
congratulations.
blame him.
Yeah,
Nice.
this year at the gathering, our biggest fish is going to pay out $1,000. And then second place is going to pay $500, and third place is $250, and you don't even have to pay to enter it. It's all free. So we can
It's a
talk
good
about
gig.
Nice. Let's
yeah,
take a peek at chat real quick. Looks like the Dominator, Mr. Hollis, jumped in.
yeah. Corey said 61 pounds and 85 pounds. I thought it was 86, but 85. That's awesome. Circle Hook Production. Hey, John Boy. Uh, Danny
Carpenter
Smith.
Catfish.
Dominic's in there. Hello. Hello.
Rustic.
So, did you have another one, Steve, or was that the only one you had right now?
That's the only one I had was that I like to use. I mean,
Right.
Let me show you this one, guys. You guys ever use, does anybody out there ever use a worm threader? Because when I was talking to Daryl before the show, it's not too common. And I mean, it's going to work for just about anything. Let me go solo real quick here. All right, so if you've never seen one, this is a worm threader. You can get them at Walmart. They're just like, I don't know, $3-4 or something. And what you're going to use this for, guys, is pretty much, I started off using it for bass fishing because I wanted to get a nice big plastic worm, but I just got this grubby, sheddy looking thing I'll show you. But anyways, the way you use this is you get your worm threader, right? And it's just a little piece of wood with a hollow sharpened tip on it, little aluminum. And you're going to take it and you're going to start at the, like if this was a crawler, you do it right at his head. You're going to get about to midway. You can go all the way in if you want. This is really good for finicky fish that like to steal your bait. But even for plastics, as you can see right there. So this is what I have there. I'm just going to use a pre-tied rig here to show you how it's used. So once you get this, and you get your hook, right? Just a little pre-tied hook. It's already on your main line. You're going to take, because it's hollow. Once again, I don't have my glasses, so bear with me once I get that in there. Okay, you get the hook into the hollow tip of it, just like this. Okay. You put some tension on the line itself. Then you're going to slide the worm, or in this case, the plastic, all the way back. And if you do it right, it's going to embed itself through and come out just like that. It's kind of hard to do when it's not tied. But anyways, what you have here is it tied on just like that. And like I said, this works really good for crawlers. If you're going to have some night crawlers and you use the worm threader, it puts the hook in the middle. You can put it at the end. Stop dangling, little guy. Okay. And then as you can see, look at that. Look how nice and clean that is, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
So you can do it. So this is, like I said, this is like a $3 tool at Walmart to use it for your night crawlers. You can use it for any plastic baits. When I first started using it, I used it on plastic worms, paddle tail worms, and I would just put the paddle tail worm on, tighten up the line, slip it on, and just a little bit of the hook would stick through on the plastic, and then I just cast it out. And so yeah, if you've never seen a worm threader, like $3-4 at Walmart. You cannot go wrong with having one of these in your tackle box.
Absolutely. Cool. I'd never heard of one of those. I don't know if that's something up north that's used more and not down up here, but I've never
Huh.
even heard of one or
I mean, it's
seen
great for
one.
crawlers. That was the whole point of it. Is like, well, it's a worm threader, right?
I
That's
thought
the name.
when he showed it to me, I thought it was an ice pick. I was like, yeah, I know what that is. That's an
Yeah,
ice
I'm
pick.
like, yeah, we're making martinis here, shaken or stirred.
Hello,
You
thanks for
guys
joining.
ever fill your worms up with air?
Yep. So yeah, like I said, right next to the worm threader is you'll see a little squeeze bottle usually, and it's the blower, worm blower. So once you put it on the hook using the worm threader, then you stick in the worm blower. Just so you put it right at the band of the worm, just usually right past midway. Stick that in there, and you don't want to blow out the worm. It's like a balloon. You want to put just enough to see him slightly inflate, and then, like I said, that'll float it off the bottom. So yeah, that's a good call, Steve. The worm blower, usually right next to the worm threader. When they're usually some
Up
side by
north,
side.
man. Never heard of that either.
You got it, man. Like I said, especially if you're going for like trout, they're killer for trout.
Yeah.
You thread a worm on, and the trout are really good at stealing bait. Or if you're fishing in an area where you're going for trout, but there's a lot of panfish, and they're just taking the bait and stealing the little tips off it, you thread it on. They're not going to steal it, and then you puff it up, and then it floats off the bottom. Man,
Yeah.
I've done killer on trout
Right.
using that stuff. So
Right.
yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
I got another one that we use when we're fishing with big baits down here. I mean, we can fish full skipjacks down here or 3/4 skipjack down here, and you don't want to use just one hook. This is a double hook uh, rig right here that I use, and it's made to hook. One will go into like the bait's mouth. It's like a skipjack. You put one in it through its mouth and up through its nose, up through its gills and up through its nose, and then one will hook into its back. So you'll have a double hook that, and then you'll have a swivel there. And I'll show how to hook this, how I do this. Now, people can do them different, but this is how I do it. And I sort of just come up with this on my own, and people may or may not do it that way. I don't know, but let me grab a hook and some line. I do the no knot hook to start with, and so what I do is I run it through the eye, and then I bring it out a good ways past it, and then I wrap around 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, God, I just got stuck. Those hooks are sharpest hooks. They'll catfish
You
sumo
thought I
hooks.
was kidding when I said make sure you don't hook yourself on them hooks.
No. Anyway, I wrap it 8 times and then go right back through the back of the eye like that, and you got it. So then I've got the tab in that I stuck through the eye to start with and made it long in this hand here. So I'll put a crimp on that one. And like I say, I've started just really liking the crimps. Stick that through there. And then I'll get another hook and make sure that I turn it the same way as the one I just put on. And that way you're not trying to twist the line or anything. Send it through the crimp. We got the crimp right there. And I get my crimping tool. I really like these crimping tools. They're made for different size crimps, and they will cut your line also. They even work on braid, believe it or not. They're
Where did you
really
say you got that one? That
off
wrench from?
Amazon.
The crimper?
Yeah, I got it off Amazon.
That's a pretty good one, man.
I crimped it there, and then I just cut this tab off. Like I said, I always try to cut the tab off as tight as I can. And you can see there's nothing left of that. So now I have, like I say, this double hook, and I'll keep these in my tackle box also, where I can take and switch them over. But like I say, this one will just go through the nose and out the mouth, and this one will go through the back. And that way, if you've got a big piece of skipjack and it doesn't take the whole, skipjack, if it hits it short, you can get it on this back one, or you can get it on the front one, or you can get them through both. But that's the way I do whenever we're putting on a big piece of bait. It's like that.
All right. Well, looks like Jay from Pro Staff Jay from Get Hook, Colorado is asking us about the carp rig. It's the same. It's kind of like the same thing as doing the Texas rig, but instead of the egg sinker, you're going to substitute for one of these little cages. This is pack bait cages because carp fisherman likes to use pack bait. So this is pretty much just going to replace the egg sinker. So this you're going to have your main line going through. You're going to come out to a bead, and then you're going to go to a swivel, and then you're going to have your hook at the end. And like I said, with this, if you've never heard of pack bait, and you want to go try to start fishing for carp, which is just a blast to fish for, guys. They're like in almost every metro pond, and you're getting 20 pounders plus if no one's been molesting them. So you get yourself one of these off Amazon, Amazon bait feeder cages, and you make pack bait. It's a combination of panko, jello, and some corn juice, and it packs together, and that's why they call it pack bait. And you just pack it around, and it stays on. And then when you cast it out, it will disperse all that bait in the area. Right? It'll be even on if it's sitting on the bottom of the floor, it'll be sitting there, and it'll just like disperse out, attract the fish. And then when the fish take, because it acts like an egg sinker, they don't feel the pressure. It just comes out, right? So yeah, that's a good call, Jay. If you want to do for carp rig, look out for these little cages and see them on Amazon really cheap. And all you do is the same thing as the Texas rig. You just take out the egg sinker. Once you pack bait on this, guys, for the most part, you don't need to put any weight. It's at least an ounce. You'll be able to cast out at least. So that's kind of a fun thing if you never did. Hey, you know what, Daryl? Since you were showing the double hook, it reminded me of a catfish sumo product. They call this the bait stalker. It's a trailer fly. Have you guys ever seen these before?
Yep,
I'm going to bring up a page. Go ahead. I'm going to share the screen here so that y'all can see that. Because I mean, this would be so good, especially if you're. I mean, the guy that uses it, Catfish Sumo Pro Staff, they do it with a from a kayak, from a boat. That's really when the trailer flies are kind of come in handy. Well, there you go. Look at that. Let me.
You show yours.
Yeah, let me do a quick screen share here, so that you can see what I'm talking about and how it's rigged.
Yeah, go ahead and do yours.
All right, there it is right there. So yeah, it's the bait stalker. So it's a trailer hook behind the main hook. So it's like a second hook. And I mean, I've been watching a lot of the videos, and you'll see these guys. The catfish will either be attracted because of the fly. Sometimes they'll hit the fly. But yeah, just like that. So pretty fancy.
Yeah, and I can show you. I've got one of all of them here too.
Right. Let me stop scrolling.
Right here. We call them actually a stinger fly is what we call them.
Right.
And they're just for suspend bait fishing. If you're just dropping down and you're spinning off the bottom, you put these on the you do it a lot like the double hook.
Right.
Let me find that double hook rig again. I've got
that's what reminded when you showed me that double hook. I thought of the stalker.
Yeah. Instead of doing the double hook, you'll just take that. Let me get that out.
Heck, you could crimp it on right now.
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
Crimper.
Yeah, I'll crimp one
on the spot.
Yeah, y'all go ahead or I can do it right now. I'm gonna cut this one off right quick. Yeah, these are pretty easy I like to use these things. Like I say, they are so nice. You just get on that one and cut it off.
I'm gonna need you to send me the link on that crimper there when we're done.
Okay, I will.
Because I like
it.
that.
And then you just put, like say, you put the little crimp on there, boom, and then the little stinger fly right through there, Maybe everybody can see me do this.
Yeah, I can see you.
And boom. This is so much easier than doing a knot. And like I say, I know they do a lot of this in deep sea stuff. But now, just that fast. Now we've got
bam! Look at that bad boy.
I generally leave it a little further behind than what this is. I usually, because of my, the size of my bait, I'll generally make this piece about 6 inches long. Right here, the stinger fly, I'll drop it back a couple of more inches than what it is. And what they'll do, a lot of times, if that catfish comes in and hits at that bait and misses it, the stinger fly will get him. So that's what those are for. And like I say, they make them in several different colors. This is the white. This is the orange. They don't call it orange. He's got names on all of them.
Does one color seem to work better for you?
Not really. I mean, most time they're usually coming in for the bait anyway.
Right.
And but like I say, if you do a lot of suspend fishing, you got to get these things. Go on Catfish Simulator. Like I say, you can get 10% off if you use Randy 10 or at TSO. But you don't want to use these like if you're anchor fishing. You do
Right.
not want these on the bottom because they're going to hang. So make
Right.
sure you only use these whenever you're suspend fishing because that's not going to do you any good at all, and you're going to be mad because they're going
Right.
to get hung.
I want to go out on a boat or a kayak just to try these things because, like you said, I mean, I fish mostly the bank, and
Right.
that's not going to cut it. But then I love the idea about it as a second hook, as a backup hook, and as an attractor. I love the ideal.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they work great. Like I say, if you guys want to see them at work, if you'll watch kayak catfish, he uses these things all the time,
Yeah, he
and
kills
he
with it.
catches a lot of fish on that second hook where they come up and miss the main bait and catch that bottom hook there. So,
Ooh, it looks like Uncle Don might be ready to join us.
okay,
Hey,
Don,
there he is,
Good
Uncle
evening.
Don.
hope you're feeling better, brother.
A little bit. I had eye surgery, so I'm kind of blurry on things.
I wish you hadn't done that. Now you can see how ugly I am.
I can't see yet,
Oh, okay. Well, about a week from now, you'll realize what it is.
so I'm slow at moving, but yeah, I'm getting better.
That's
That's
good.
awesome, buddy.
Finally, this is what 3 4 weeks had me down this time.
My gosh, it's good to have you back, Uncle.
Yeah, I know you've been under the weather bad. I'm glad you're feeling a lot better.
Did you have a special rig you wanted to show us? Your
Yeah,
go-to rig?
you guys would like me to. My favorite rig to fish with whenever I can is a slip bobber,
Hmm.
and the slip bobber you can use in any combination. But from shore, especially, it gives you the option to search out a big area because you can almost bump with it. You can use it for all species. You can use it out of a boat, especially if you got side imaging. You see a fish outside. You know how deep it is. You can set your depth of your slip bobber and throw it out there and drop that bait right in front of them and keep on the move. But they're real easy to use. You can use great big sinkers and heavy weights with them, and I like using the three-way rig with my weight at the bottom most of the time. On my smaller fish, I use a lighter weight and I do a slip weight above the bobber, or
Hmm.
not above it, but above the hook. But they're real easy to do. You got, sure people have seen these.
Oh yeah, the little slip bobber stops.
Yeah, they come in all different sizes depending on how big your line is. And all you need to do is you take your line, let me see if I can figure this out, and you run it through that little hole. Told you my eyes were blurry. And you pull that little rubber stop off, and it's on your line. Then all you have to do is, I got it running backwards, is take a bead. And one thing I'll remind you, when you take a bead, make sure the hole in the bead won't go over your bobber stop.
That makes sense.
I'll show you with another one. I've done that so many times. I've put my bobber stop on, put my bead on, it goes right over the top, and I got to take it all apart. But this is another type, just yarn. You run your line through the plastic like so, and then you just slide it off onto your line and take the plastic piece off. And I just dropped it. Let me run it back through there again.
So you said you use that with a three-way, Don?
I do with a three-way, and sometimes I just do a small sinker. But then you just pull your two lines tight on your line. Some people, these will go through your eyelets easier than the bobber rubber ones
Right.
if you have small eyelets. But you could also slide these up and down to check your thing. You can trim these lines off, but you want to leave a little bit because after time going back and forth through your eyelets, they'll loosen up and you got to snug them down. So then you'd put your bead on. I like these little silicone beads, and you slide that down so it rests against that bobber stop, and then you can just slide your bobber on there and it'll slide. And you can use a whole lot of different type bobbers. It doesn't have to be one type or another. I picked one that doesn't have a hole all the way through it.
I keep a little small screwdriver in my box because of that. But every one of them seems like they'll have one, and it's midway through every time.
Yeah.
I have a little small Phillips head screwdriver I keep in my toolbox to poke them out with.
Okay, I use a Patriot float, but you can use a snap float or whatever. But that's your now. When you throw it out there, if you're using a three-way with your bobber at the bottom, your weight at the bottom, if your bobber lays sideways, it's resting on bottom. So then you shorten it up and you get it to where the bobber is just bouncing. And then you know that that weight is just off bottom. And then you can adjust your hook length for how far off the bottom you want to be fishing.
Hmm.
So
That's a
I would
great.
go there, and then I would go with a three-way. I got a big one here. I don't use anything this big, but I use these type of three-ways, and my hook will go off where my fingers are, and my weight and my main line will go through the other part. But this is the size I usually use,
So
and
how long is your leader, Don? Do you do like a really long leader to your hook then, and so that way you can adjust it?
from the three-way, I go about 2 feet to the
Okay.
end of the sinker, and
Okay.
then I take my hook line and I'll put about 18 inches. On that, you could also put a little bobber to keep your bait up off the bottom too if you want to just bounce. If
Hmm.
I'm fishing in an area that's sandy and there's a little bit of current or a little bit of waves, I'll let that bobber, that weight just bounce along the bottom real slowly, and then my bait will be up off the bottom.
Okay.
And when they take it, then the bobber can go down. And it does work with the guard dog too, so you don't have to keep watching it all the time. But it's real versatile. If you got a real kind of rocky bottom, you can bring it up off the bottom by doing the same things, figuring out where your depth is. When you're fishing from shore, you don't really know all the time how deep it is out there. What I look for is I'll cast it out and somewhere it'll go out and then it'll dip down. So I like it when my weight drifts right along and hits that where it drips down and hangs right there on the edge of the sand or the rocks. And so I can fish that ridge line where the fish travel.
So
And
I guess the bobber you're using is going to depend the size of it. It's going to depend on how much weight you're using, right? Because you don't
right,
want it to take
right.
it down. What size weight do you
That's
usually
it.
use?
Make sure your weight don't sink your bobber before you
Right?
throw it.
What size weight do you usually use, Don? What
Uh,
ounce?
in the lake, I'll do well if I'm doing walleye, maybe a half ounce or an
Okay.
ounce.
Okay. So something
I'm
nothing too
river,
heavy.
I can do 3 to 4 ounces depending on the current. But the whole idea of slip bobber is when I pull my line, pull it up off bottom straight up,
Hmm.
and then I can hesitate a little bit, and I can actually move a little bit further down, and a little bit further down, so I can kind of fish a bigger area if I'm
Okay.
not having any luck.
I'm starting to
From the,
understand it now. So
Yeah.
you want your bobber to be sideways, like you're saying. That means your weight sitting on the bottom.
that means your weight's sitting on the bottom. If you got a real gentle breeze and you want it to just bob along, or if you're in some trees,
Right.
then you can see where the bottom is, shorten it up a foot or two,
Hmm.
and put it back out there, and it'll keep it up off the bottom.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I know you told me about that before, but now that you're explaining it in person, it makes a lot of sense now.
We'll say
It's
hello to Anthony J out there, or Anthony J all day out there in chat, and also JG. I seen you came in here, JG Studio. Hey, how you doing, guys? Thanks for joining us. Go. I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you, Mr. Don. Go ahead.
the it's so versatile because the more you use it, the more uses you figure out how to use it.
Hmm.
Uh,
And like I said, from a boat, if you got side imaging and you see, oh, he's over here, and if you got a little bit of current, you can cast up above there, and you got your depth finder. You know how deep it is. You know how long your pole is, so that's a good gauge of how deep you're putting it. And you
Hmm.
can throw it right down where it goes out and stays there. But like I said, if it's rocky and you got a pretty good sized bobber, when you pull it, it pulls that weight straight up, not at an angle to where it will snag.
Hmm.
Uh, these little knots here, if you got some dry con or some little yarn like that, all that knot is a uni knot. So if you know how to tie a uni knot, if you have to take this off, you can just put it on, make your loop, loop it around about 5 times, and you got one of those. So you don't have to take
nice.
everything off and restring it back on. You
Yeah,
can do it in the fly. I
a lot of
find the ones with braided wire, it eats them out inside pretty fast.
Hmm.
It's like this one's pretty big. When it hits the end of the island, especially with a fish on, it'll slide it.
Hmm.
And so sometimes you got to recheck before you throw it back out. They make another one that is even smaller than this, but these will go through the eyelet a lot easier than the rubber ones. But they all got their purpose. Uh,
yeah.
but
Uh,
the slip bobber is my favorite,
Yeah, it's a
especially
great one.
smallmouth. I
I
go
know.
out, get it right off the bottom. I love watching that
Hmm.
bobber.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys that flathead fish use those too for bobbers and float them into the trees, and
Yep.
they'll be up off the bottom and do that. So it's
Well, heck,
that.
that's two rigs now that I got to try out there: the Steve
Yeah,
rig and the Uncle Don rig.
there you go. Yeah, those are awesome. Well,
That's like with that, Daryl. What I would do is I would put a sliding sinker on with a swivel and put my hook at the end,
right.
so it's all in line. That way, I can set it so it'll go across but be close to the wood.
Yeah, exactly. So
But
we're getting down close to the end of the show again tonight. It all boy, it seemed like this thing went by fast
Yeah,
tonight.
there was a lot of educational stuff
Lot
going
of,
on
lot
in this one.
guys, if you guys got something you want us to bring onto the show, anybody out there in chat, just not the pro staff guys, hey, hit us up and myself or Randy and or any of the pro staff guys and let us know something that you want to see that you'd like us to show on the show, how it's done or how it's fished. There's so many different rigs we didn't even get to tonight. But I'll say this to people that's just getting started out there. Uh, there's also pre-tied lines out there that you can get. I mean, like for even for trout and stuff, you can go to your local Walmart. And I know Eagle Claw puts them out. Or if you're doing catfishing, let me get this out of the pack where you can see a little bit better. I know.
thanks.
I know Catfish Sumo does one where these are 10 off and they come in little packets individually done, and that there come 5 pre-tied rigs, and so you can get them like this, And like I was showing earlier, you don't have to, have the float put on them ahead of time. You can always get these floats that have the cut,
The
the
little
slice
slit.
cut inside of
Yep.
them.
You can make those pretty easy, right? Because if you got a regular like a pencil float or whatever that's made of foam,
And
just
you can
take your
just
knife and
put
just
it in.
cut it. Yeah,
Yep, and slide that right on the pre-done one. These come with the barrel or the bearing swivel on them, and the circle hook. You can get them in eights and tens.
that's a time saver for
And you
sure.
can always just get these rattles. These rattles will open up. Uh, let's see if I got something to open these up with. You, I usually have to take something with an edge. Let's see if I can get this in here right quick. And I'll show you how they work. It's pretty cool.
Oh, if you just bend it a little bit, it opens up. Huh. Never noticed that before, Daryl.
Yes, sir. There we go. They open up, and you just put it on the line, and then
Clip
just
them
close it
on.
right back on there. So
Hmm.
that's a great thing. If you're, like I say, if you're fishing with one that doesn't have a line on it, you just put the this on and put this on, put it one or two of these on there, and now you got a Santee Cooper rig. So there's a lot of
What's the
different
brand
ways.
name of those floats they're using? Daryl JG Hill Studios asking what's the brand name of those floats that have the line down the cut down. Do you know
I,
what the brand name is?
I
I know
got them
there's so
on.
many types.
Yeah, that I got them on Amazon. Just put in like a pencil float, and you'll see them. They'll tell that they have the
Yeah,
cut down through them. But yeah, I like them. That way, you just take and put that on the line, and they'll come with a little plastic piece on both ends. That way, you stick them in both ends. This one's got two of them in it. I don't know if you can see one there and one on this end. But I don't remember what brand they are, but I got them off
yeah.
Amazon.
There's all kind of brands. I see them at Walmart too. I forgot the
Yeah,
brand, but they're pretty
well,
popular.
I may have some right here in a pack. Yep, right here. Carmel. Can you see that? Tackle.
Comal. Don't
Comal.
know. Comal. Nice. Well,
Yeah.
we're running out of time here, Daryl. Why don't you take us
Yeah.
home? I did want to thank everybody for showing up and uh, appreciate you coming in. And we'll try to get you a fun, entertaining show for next week if you want to join us next week. But do
Yeah.
appreciate everybody showing up.
Absolutely. We thank everybody for showing up. And as always, guys, we appreciate Guard Dog. If you want to
Yes, we
try these
do.
out, guys, they are awesome, awesome. And I know I talk about these at the first and beginning, but hey, we are Guard Dog Pro staff. You want to get some of these, go to guarddogproducts.com.
Got it
You
right.
put in You can put in Don promo Don 10. You can put in Randy 10, and you can put in TSO 10. There he is, somewhere over this way.
Right on,
That
brother.
way, yeah. Anyway, and get 10% off. And I'm telling you, I really enjoy using them. If I didn't, I wouldn't say so. Woody
Amen.
just loved watching them, just to watch them go off and hear them go cling.
Right?
And it's a great thing. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back here the same time this next week. If you guys want to see something, just hit one of the pro staff up, Mr. Don R, Mr. Randy, myself, anybody with the pro staff, Rustic Outdoors. I know Steve Thomas, any of those guys that's on the pro staff, Colorado J there. Any of them, hit us up and we'll try to bring something to you there. Until then, I'm Daryl, and I've got Randy over here on my wing and Mr. Don R in there. We'll say good night to you and have a great rest of your Sunday evening.
Good night, y'all.
Y'all take care.